Just when you thought Volkswagen had run out of car names beginning with the letter T, it's come out with this, the new Volkswagen Tayron, as in the tie. But essentially this is a replacement for the old 7-seater Tiguan, although interestingly, you can get it in a 5-seat version. So in this review, I'm going to subject the car to a very British test, but we're also going to reveal what the differences are between the two specs of car. It's very cramped in here, show some hidden talents inside, and reveal something that has really shocked me. That's really shocked me. Now, all versions of the Tayron start from over £40,000, which means you don't duck under the UK's luxury car tax bracket. But there are some clever ways that this car helps you save money, especially when it comes to other forms of tax. And I'll explain those in a little bit. But first, let's talk about the car's design, because it's a handsome thing, I think, although it's one that looks a lot like the Tiguan. I mean, the front here, you get the same light bar design and you even get an illuminated Volkswagen badge. The only real difference is that there's a bit more muscle to the front bumper. And if you come to the side, if you're going for an entry-level car, you can get anything as small as 18-inch wheels, but our high-rank R-Line car has these very nice 20-inch alloy wheels. At the side of the car, you'll spot this. This is not a fuel filler cap, I'll explain in just a little bit. But we've got a very long car. This is over 4.7 meters long. So you've got a lot of space on the roof for carrying a roof box if you need to, but it also means you've got a nice long rear door. And in fact, the opening looks quite wide there. So we'll test how that affects access and also rear legroom in a moment. Now, at the back of the Tayron, this is where we see the biggest differences in a design sense from the Tiguan, because this is where the Tayron gets its BBL. I mean, not only is the rear a bit longer, but also we've got this light bar design, which yes, is quite similar to the Tiguan, but it's slightly different in the details. And yes, we've got our Volkswagen illuminated badge, but we get some sporty additions that are different on this particular R-Line car. Volkswagen would say that this is I guess a mesh design, but I just think it looks like chicken wire. Although I have to say the design overall is tidy. There are no visible exhausts no matter what powertrain you go for, but it's a sensible look. It's very inoffensive, which is typical of Volkswagen. Now, this is the bit where I show you the first difference in the two versions of the Tayron, and that is boot space, because if you go for the plug-in hybrid that we have here, there are two disadvantages to that. And the first is that you can't get the 7-seat version because the batteries take up the space. And the second is, well, you actually just lose storage space overall as well because of those batteries, which are in there. But overall, this is a big boot, and I can show you why. Now, firstly, as you've noticed, under the floor, if I lift this up here, we have plenty of room to hide away your charge cables, which isn't always the case on plug-in hybrids, so that's a really useful feature. And there's still loads more room around it. And then if you look at this section here, look, I can lift up bits of the floor and expose more storage area around the batteries. And by the way, on that side is where your tow, eye, and other tyre-related things are hidden away. There's also more storage elsewhere. You've got side pockets down here. You've got this random but potentially quite useful shelf up here as well. And if you took away this parcel shelf and then you pulled these handles here, it's as simple as doing that to make the boot even bigger.
Even with the plug-in hybrid's batteries, this is definitely a very usable boot. But what about the 7-seater Tayron? Do extra seats significantly hamper the practicality there?
Now, we actually have a 7-seater to show you that there are some crucial differences aside from the extra 2 seats. And one actually addresses a major gripe for parents the world over. And that is, if I lift up this floor, which is now removable entirely, you will see that, look, our parcel shelf can be hidden away under the floor and sat in this position, so it doesn't slide around, and it means you won't take it out and leave it at your mate's house or forget about it and leave it on the roadside. Now, even with this in place, it's still got a usable amount of storage underneath, so if I put it in your spot, you can still use this for storage space. And also the other changes you get are for comfort for the rear passengers. So now we've got 2 armrests either side, and interestingly, we've got a little cup holder here as well. It's actually removable, but it's only for the passenger on that side. But the crucial difference, of course, is that you've got 2 seats. But handily, look, they're flat when they're in the lower position, and to lift them up, you just pull these straps and lock them in place. Now, because the Tayron obviously has that rear sliding bench, it means access to the rearmost seats is better than you'd expect. It's still pretty snug, but I'll demonstrate. You don't have to be just a child to get in. So look, I can climb in, no problems whatsoever. And of course, we're not going to be surprised to know that when I pull this back all the way and lock it in place, it's very cramped in here. I mean, even if you slide this bench forward a little bit, I mean, that's going to compromise space for these guys, but even then, this is definitely a row for the kiddies. Who'd have known?
So far, this Tayron looks great for family life, but no less important in 2025 is the car's infotainment tech, which is where our timed CarPlay test comes in.
The drill is that you're late for something and you need the CarPlay or Android Auto to fire up as quickly as possible on the car. So I need this to connect as quickly as possible as soon as I'm in. So let's see how quickly it goes. Right, car is locked, phone is in my hand. I'm gonna go, right, here we go. Car unlocked, in we are. Phone down there, start the engine. Oh, that feels pretty quick. Switch on Bluetooth, it's on, it's on, it's on. Bit of a communication delay here, but there we go, that's fired up, okay. That's my screen being slow. Oh, that might be my phone. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Time? Why is it not loading? Why is that so slow? Disconnected.
It's the first fail.
It's the first, we're in time.
To make sure that this wasn't just an anomaly or my phone being slow, we thought we'd give the Tayron another chance.
Right, here we go. Unlocked, the phone is gonna go straight down, so it's close to the system. Engine start, that's turned on nice and quick. Switch on the Bluetooth should be on. Come on. Okay, so I've already had to tell it to switch on the Bluetooth. Oh, it's fired up very quickly though. I just can't activate or use the system. Oh no. Okay, so my phone is connected, everything's there, but the actual system, how strange. There we go, so we're in, so there's time, but there was a Bluetooth thing on screen that I had to cancel, but yet it's connected. Bizarre. Once you do get it up and running, the infotainment system is pretty good actually. There are moments where it isn't the fastest. Look, you can see there's a slight hesitation, and definitely sometimes it takes half a second to change menu when you press a button, but generally speaking, it couldn't be much easier to use, and that's largely because it is so big. In fact, in this top of the range spec, we have a 15-inch size screen. You can get, I think 12.9 is the entry level size, but if you've got this, well, there's plenty of room to have your maps on the screen and also other commands as well. Other sections, although we still do have the annoying fiddly heater controls that Volkswagen uses. So we've still got these slidey controls here for your heater, and then if you want to adjust fan speed, you have to dive into the menus on the screen, but at least they are illuminated these days. But one good thing in contrast to that is that Volkswagen has continued to bring back buttons. So on the steering wheel, for example, we have proper buttons, just like the older Volkswagens. So there's no accidental pressing of haptic or any kind of touch sensitive stuff. This is much easier to use on the go. And there is an instrument cluster screen ahead of me as well, and while it's digital only, it is so clear, it's so crisp, and it's the same size in all of the models. So it's a good feature, and I like the colours they've introduced in this one as well. Elsewhere in the cabin, I have to say this R-Line has some really nice materials. The mix of fabrics and leathers, or maybe pleathers, I don't know, it all feels good quality. I wish this was black rather than grey. I think it would add to the feel and the sportiness, but overall, it's a nice place to sit, albeit one that is typically Volkswagen. It's more sensible than exciting. There are some good features for storage as well. We've got some trays, you can take things out if you want to store other bits, and you've got bits in there as well. Plus, you've even got 2 wireless charging mats, so you don't have to fight over that in the front. And of course, the glove box itself is a little bit short, but it is quite wide. And the space in the front for passengers is really, really good. I mean, I've got the seat set low, but there's plenty of adjustment in the seat to go much higher. And with our panoramic sunroof here, it feels nice and airy. And even with these racy R-Line seats, which do feel a little bit firmer, it is very comfortable. The seats just push you in all the right bits in your back. So on a long journey, this is going to be a nice place to sit.
But of course, this is a family car, so we need to test whether the back seats, as in the ones in the middle of the Tayron, can handle everything from lanky teenagers to arthritic grandparents.
Now here's the real reason why you'd buy a Tayron over a Tiguan, and it's to do with this back end here, because as I said earlier, the door is really wide and it also opens at a pretty wide angle, so it's easy for access, and that's doubly true because of the square line here. So it's good for head access, I guess, but also it's not just a good space in here for growth spurting kids, but also fully grown adults, because I'm just under 6 foot, and yet look, I can sit almost like I'm in a limousine. This is super comfortable, and because the batteries in this plug-in hybrid are in the boot, they're not in the floor, it means that I've actually got a good amount of space here. So my knee angle is very comfortable. It means all the pressure points are in the right position. So it's a nice place for a long journey. And that's doubly true because these seats on either side can actually be moved. So if you sacrifice a bit of space, if there's a small person in the back here, you could slide these forward, get a bit more boot space. But if you're a normal size or a taller person, well, you'd probably appreciate the fact that just pulling this here means you can lay back, and that's true for both of the seats on either side. So that's really, really good for a long journey. Plus, if you don't have someone in the middle, you've also got this little fold down armrest here, and you can also pull out your cup holders. Look, they pop out through there, and this is the first of 2 spaces to put your phone if you're sat in the back, or 3 technically actually, because look, you can have your phone there, but you can also put your phone up there as well. So that's quite a nifty feature. But if you are a middle seat passenger, I have to admit it's a bit snug, because you do have a big foot tunnel in the floor of the car here, so your feet would have to straddle that. The middle seat though is relatively wide, so it's a bit forgivable. Plus, you've got 2 USB-C ports to fight over in the back, and you even get to adjust your own heater controls. And there are other useful bits. Look, storage down there, and the door pockets are really, really big. They're actually plenty big enough even for a US-style bottle of water. Now, before I tell you what it's like to drive a Tayron, I should tell you about the powertrains, because there's something interesting going on here. Now, this particular Tayron is a plug-in hybrid, and there are 2 versions of that you can get, but both are capable on paper of over 600 miles per gallon, which we are going to put to the test in a little bit. But more importantly for the real world is that both versions are also in the 2nd cheapest car tax bracket when it comes to CO2. So it will cost you less than a tenner a month to tax one of these when it comes to CO2, but of course there is that luxury car tax which applies to everything over £40,000. So with that, you're going to have to add £425 to your annual total. But still, it's impressive, especially for a company car buyer. Now, for everyone else, there are mild hybrids which are very fuel efficient and they don't need to be plugged in. And there's also a pair of petrol engines as well, which are relatively fuel efficient, and crucially, they come as automatics only, along with actually all of those other models I've mentioned, unless you go for the model that has surprised me the most today, and that is the diesel, because there is still a diesel model offered on this in the UK. That is also automatic, but it's only front-wheel drive, interestingly.
That actually means the diesel isn't the best Tayron for towing in the lineup. In fact, it's the 2-litre TSI petrols that lead the way, because they can both tow up to 2.4 tonnes of brake trailer to the diesel's 2 tonnes. The plug-in hybrid that we have is even less capable, with a limit of 1.8 tonnes.
Now, the first thing I'd recommend, no matter what powertrain you go for in the Tayron, is that you option on a thing called DCC, or Dynamic Chassis Control, which might be familiar to other Volkswagen owners, but if you're not, basically it's the more complicated and definitely better suspension setup you get, where it allows you to adjust the suspension as you go. Now, in the UK, we'll go over a lot of things that I just went over just now, which is speed bumps, potholes, cracks, all of that stuff. But because this car can soften off, and I mean not just through a few modes, I mean through multiple levels, right down to something beyond comfort, which I would call ultra squidge mode, well, this car is really comfortable, even on really bad surfaces. Case in point, right there. Honestly, the way it soaks up the bumps is second only to cars like proper Range Rovers. It's really, really good. It's only the very, very worst of UK road surfaces that cause it a little trouble. Overall, this is a comfortable car.
Dynamic chassis control suspension isn't the only tech worth adding to your Tayron, because Volkswagen's camera tech can also be pretty good. And handily, it doesn't take long for us to find a road scenario where we can test both the visibility and manoeuvrability of this R-Line.
Ah yes, a roadblock, a familiar scenario for Brits, and especially those during roadwork season. Now, this Tayron is actually 25 centimeters longer than the Tiguan, so this test will evaluate how hard it is to do a U-turn in a tricky scenario like this. This is quite a narrow B road, so let's do it. Let's get the car into drive. Now, what we're going to be testing is not just the turning circle, but also the visibility of the cameras. So we've got front and rear cameras on this car here. So if I get as close as I can to that mud there, spin around, get it into reverse, I can now see that I've got a rotating rear camera and also a 360 view, which is very handy. But the rotating camera, oh look, I've got a front one as well. It's pretty low res, the rotating cameras, so it looks a little bit like VHS. Oh, and it's a very, very sensitive system there. I wasn't going to touch the mud, but the car touched the brakes for me. Turning circle is good, I guess, but what matters most is visibility. I don't like having this up here, it's a bit faffy. What was that, 100-point turn? It did it, visibility's good, car gets very scared when you hit the brakes.
Find an open road and this Tayron steers and handles far better than I'd expected, with good body control even in the softest suspension setting, making it feel secure and sure-footed. If there's a complaint, it's that the ehybrid doesn't let you properly one-pedal drive like other plug-in cars, with the regen only slightly slowing you down when you come off the accelerator.
In fact, I would go so far as saying Volkswagen, because it's probably just a software update required to increase it, if you've got a chance to update it and make it even stronger, I definitely think it should be, or at least give us the option to adjust it to make it stronger. And if you're wondering, by the way, viewers, do these shift paddles actually adjust the regen like they do on other hybrid cars? The answer is no, they just control the gearbox in a more traditional way. So you could, of course, just shift down the gears, use the engine braking, but of course it would be even more efficient if I was using the regen.
That said, the plug-in hybrid Tayron does use its 19.7 kilowatt hours of hybrid battery effectively, offering over 70 miles of purely electric running. And even when the petrol engine's on, the hybrid helps to lessen its workload and make the car feel quiet and refined.
But the other advantage of having an electric part to a hybrid system is power. So we only have 204 horsepower in this car. There's over 270 available in another plug-in hybrid version. But I want to test the 0 to 60, so we've got the race logic out. Let's see what it does. Right, I've got the car set in sport. Let's see what it does. Oh, a bit of wheel spin. It's pretty smooth power delivery. Engine's a bit more prominent now. I can definitely hear it. Oh, look at that, 7.84 seconds. 7.84 to 60 miles per hour. That is warm hatch, warm SUV pace. That's not bad. And of course you can get a much more powerful version as well. And actually that does translate elsewhere in the power range. If I'm just driving at normal speed, but I just want to accelerate, maybe I want to do an overtake or I want to keep up the pace on the motorway, you can feel the muscle. It is usefully potent, but at the same time, once you're rolling, it's not quick. It's just capable. It's just as quick as you'd need it to be. So it's spacious, comfortable, and it's actually fuel efficient because, by the way, we've been getting 66 miles per gallon despite me not driving in the most sensible mode or despite me not driving economically at all. If you drive more sensibly than me, you can get much more miles per gallon. And of course, don't forget, with the 7-seater option, this is a very versatile car. So I think the Tayron has definitely earned the right to have its own name, even if I can't pronounce it. But if you want a hybrid that can do 75 miles of electric range, but you can't stretch to this car's price, well, there is a fantastic alternative from MG, and it's called the HS, which you can find in our review here. And if you need more options from the world of hybrid SUVs, you aren't short a choice. So we've helped whittle down the selection to some of our favorites here.